This is chapter 5.3, factoring x squared plus bx plus c. Please notice that the a value in what we're factoring today is 1, which is why when you factor quadratic functions or quadratic equations when a is 1, so they're in the form x squared plus bx equals plus c, you can use guess and check. So that is the reason that you can use guess and check. So the first problem we're going to look at is x squared plus 5x plus 6. But before we do that, let's focus on these factoring patterns. Factoring patterns are, as such, there's 4 different ones. And a and b are simply integers in these problems. And they could be something other than integers, but for our purposes, we're going to be using integers. So if we have x squared plus bx plus c, such as we do here with this x squared plus 5x plus 6, we're going to use this factoring pattern. Plus plus. So it's going to be x plus something and x plus another something. And to help us with that, because that's the pattern, we chose the first one because it was plus plus, we're going to use FOIL. Now the I part is quite simple. It's always, when a is 1, it's always going to be x times x, which equals x squared. So that term has been checked out. The last term is really the key to what you're doing. So something times something, something times something, where I'm pointing here, last term times last term, is going to equal 6. You have a couple of choices. You could use 1 and 6 factors, or you can use 2 and 3 factors. What you have to then decide is, because it's plus plus, you have to decide which amounts added together would give you the middle term of 5x, because when you do outside, inside, you're essentially adding together the two like terms. 1 plus 6 gives us 7, so that's not going to work, but 2 plus 3 will give us 5. So it's going to be 2 times, it's going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, you put the 2 and the 3 here. Order is unimportant with this one. And then you check it using your outside inside to make sure you end up with 5x. So outside would be x times 3, which equals 3x. Inside is 2 times x, which equals 2x. These are like terms. You combine them to get 5x. So 5x matches, 5x matches, 6 matches, 6 matches. This is in fact your factoring. X plus 2 times x plus 3. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try another one right here where we've got these factoring patterns so that you can see how they work. And the next one that we're going to do is going to be, and sometimes they use different variables, and so I'm going to go ahead and use y on this one. So it's going to be y squared minus 6y plus 8. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at the factoring patterns. We've got a subtraction between the first and middle term. Here's where it says subtraction between first and middle or second term. So x squared minus bx plus c is the pattern we're seeing. That means it's going to be x minus an integer times x minus an integer. So x minus some value times x minus some other value. Now, for our purposes, these will be integers. They can be something else, but they are going to be integers for us. So we're going to use FOIL. Remember, factoring is the opposite of multiplying polynomials. So multiplying's opposite is division, so factoring is a form of division. So first terms are always easy. It's going to be y times y. Forgive me, I put x's here. Let's fix that. This should have been y's. Go ahead and fix that y and y. So y times y for the first term is going to be y squared. That matches. Now, last term is your real key. You've got 8, and it's going to be positive, so something times something is going to equal 8. Well, you know that this is going to be a negative amount, and this is going to be a negative amount. And you also know it's going to be a negative something times a negative something to get a positive 8. So your choices are going to be a negative 4 times a negative 2, a negative 1 times a negative 8. Now when you put those together, when you go ahead and put those together, what you're going to have is addition happening. So when you add 4 and 2, you will get 6, but when you added 1 and 8, you would have gotten 9. So you're going to use -4 and -2. Then you put the -4 here, -4 is -4, put the -2 here. This is what it should be. This should be your proper factored amount, but you want to check it. So we're going to do outside y and -2, so y times -2, which equals -2y. Then we're going to do inside -4 times y, -4 times y, which equals -4y. Well, -2y and -4y is -6y, so that matches, -6y, and then the 8 also matches. So y minus 4 times y minus 2 is the correct factoring. Okay, I think I can fit one more on here where the factoring patterns is. So we're going to do one of them that's going to end up being, we've so far had plus plus, you've had minus minus, now we're going to do one that has plus minus. So that can either be x squared plus bx minus c or x squared minus bx minus c. The key here is that between the middle and last term, it's subtraction. Middle term and last term, it'll be subtraction. It doesn't matter what's between the first and middle term. So let's go ahead and do z squared minus 14z minus 15. So let's go ahead and write that down. Z squared minus 14z minus 15. Now the key again is that it's a subtraction between the middle and the last term. So we're going to go ahead and do z, and it's going to be plus some number, and then it's going to be z minus some number. That'll be our factoring. I'm going to come over to the right and do the FOIL this time. Now, first term, always easy. It's going to be z times z. That's because the a value is 1. So z times z equals z squared. So that checks out. Then we go to the last term. The last term is really the key here. So you know that you need to have a -15. So it's minus 15. You're going to need to have something times something is going to equal a -15. Now, outside inside will be the combination of the two values. Because one will be positive and the other will be negative, it's going to act like subtraction. So your possibilities here are 1 times 15, let's use blue, 1 times 15 or 3 times 5. Now, we're not going to worry about the positive and negative at this moment, but you know that they're going to be subtracted to get your middle term. So 5 minus 3 is 2. That will not give you 14, but 15 minus 1 is 14. So we're going to use 15 and 1. Now here's where we have to be careful. We need negative 14z, which means it's going to be positive 1 and negative 15. So negative 15 and 1 is negative 14. Negative on that 15 now. And that's what you want to have is negative 14z. So we come back up. We put z plus 1. There's your 1. It goes right into the z. And then your negative 15 goes z minus 15. This should be the correct factoring, but we want to make sure of that. So we do outside z and negative 15. So z times negative 15 equals negative 15z. Then we go inside 1 times z. 1 times z, which equals 1z. And negative 15z and 1z is negative 14z. Okay, so negative 14z checks out. We already checked z squared. And negative 15 checks out. So z plus 1 times z minus 15 is in fact the correct factoring. Hope this has been helpful. If it's not, then go back and watch certain parts of it again, and it should give you some more assistance.